don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. We are in the studio today with, of course, Mr. Swolder Quiss and his sunglasses, and our very special guest today, Miss Allie Peak from Peak Inside Florida Football. Boys and girls, it's been a hell of a week. I missed the commit. I know you guys were frustrated. I apologize. I am all the way in Wisconsin right now, so I am far away from my home, and it's been difficult, but we are live. We're ready to rock and roll. I am excited to be here with these two wonderful people. We have a jam-packed show for all of you, so sit back, sit tight, grab yourself an old-fashioned. I have one here. It's a Wisconsin old-fashioned. It's a little bit different up here. They put some club soda and some Sprite in it. A little weird, but by day 4, you get used to it. So at this point, it's an old-fashioned, guys. So, Allie, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing? What are you doing in Wisconsin?
Great question. My buddy's getting married. I'm the best man, the officiant, and MC. I'm like the Swiss Army knife of weddings. So
That is a really
Jack of all
great
trades.
yeah, and podcaster as well on Wednesdays. So
podcaster.
yeah, Dave, how you doing? Buddy? How was your weekend, man?
Oh, man, it was pretty good, man. It's a hot one out there, too. This week's going to be really hot, but you know what? It's hot tonight because it's the best day of the week. Let's get it. Let's go.
It is the best day of the week. It's cold up here. I've had a hoodie on all week. It's crazy. Yesterday, we were on the boat swimming around. The water here in the lake is like 60 degrees, 69 degrees. It's a movie. It's like Dirty Dancing up here. I absolutely love it. I see you guys freaking out. I have hair. I guess you guys never seen the flow because I always have a hat on. But
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Look at them lovely locks.
the curls for the girls, baby. Curls for the girls is what they tell me. They love that Allie's on the show. We love that she's on the show as well, too. Look, glad to have you back, Allie. I think last time it was a huge success, and I'm glad that we were able to. We didn't scare you away, which is always which is good.
It's here a good time.
Good. And you owe us a Spacesuit podcast, Sam. You're right. Look, I was getting beat up about missing the Hawkins commit, and I'm not happy about it, but duty called. But guys, we have a jam-packed show. We're going to go over Hawkins committing as well. Friday Night Lights, obviously, we were there. We're going to talk about that, just giving my perspective on it and how it's changed over the years and where it's headed. And then the more commits, what the future looks like. And then UGA is in some trouble here lately of some it's been a doozy, and it's becoming more and more consistent with UGA. So that's kind of where it's starting to, it's starting to become a topic of conversation. And then we're going to bring, of course, our man Stephen Hawley on to go over some yes and no's commits for both Florida State. NIL talk, Keon Coleman, Miami. Just Miami being a dumpster fire per usual, guys. No need to get worked up about that. And then tweets of the week. So first order of business, Mr. Hawkins, 4-star wide receiver committed to us on Tuesday, was it? Was it yesterday or the day before Monday?
It was I can't even add up my days. I think it was Monday.
Yeah.
Okay, Monday.
Or
Doesn't
Tuesday.
matter. I missed it either way. But look, I'm excited to have him. This is something that's kind of been on the works for a while. For me, from my perspective, gives me kind of like that Chris Rainey Dimps vibe, just a speedy player. He plays both sides of the ball in high school currently. That you'll see here in his tape that he plays a little bit of DB. But look, he's a weapon, and I think that's going to be huge, especially for that lagway class. Somebody to dump the ball off to, a playmaker, just throw it to him in the flat and let him work. And you'll see, again, watching his film, they just give that man the ball, and he just blows by everybody. So really excited for this commit. Another blue chip stock for the boys. Okay. I think Ohio State did some work this weekend as well. So I think we dropped to 4th in 247. But we're second in overall for 9-3 for quality. Am I correct on that, or we dropped down a little bit?
Yeah, I think so On3 does it differently. I think we are at number 3 on the On3 rankings, and then
Okay.
we're tied with Michigan at 4 last time I checked. It could have changed then, but last time I checked, we were tied for 3rd actually with Michigan. So let me look. Yeah.
Fantastic. Allie, what's your thoughts on Mr. Hawkins here?
So I mentioned Demps and Rainey in a video that I did about Hawkins as well. That's exactly who he reminds me of, even down to the fact that he's going to run track at UF. He is incredibly fast. Supposedly, I mean, just incredible numbers that he's put up. He's in IMG now, but he was in the AAA track state championship in West Virginia as a sophomore, won the 100 and the 200, and then he won the 60 meter at the Florida Indoor Championships after he transferred here to IMG. Just smoking so fast. And I'm excited about him from a special teams standpoint as well. I think he'll be a good return man for us. I think that's something Florida has kind of been missing. And when you look back at our championship teams, having really good special teams was a hallmark of those teams. So hopefully it'll help there as well. He's small, right? But I think he's got room to put on some weight. That'll happen. Really shifty, and he ran like a 4.25 at Ohio State camp, which I don't even know if that could possibly be real for him or not. But even a number remotely close to that is just so incredibly fast. So, I mean, I think he's a weapon.
Watching him reminded me of Brandon James a little bit. When you mentioned the special teams,
Yeah.
that was a vibe that I was getting as well. As Brandon James came from St. Augustine High, which is I'm from St. Augustine, so him and Tebow both came from that St. Augustine area. When I met Brandon Spike at Friday Night Lights, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm from St. Augustine. Oh, Brandon James from there. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So Brandon James always has a special place, obviously being a hometown kid. So he never really had the spotlight as that team did, but he was always special to me being a hometown kid. So when I saw this film, I was like, man, it reminds me of a Brandon James style type player. And look, because of how talented that team was, again, he didn't really stand out, but he was a massive factor because of his ability on special teams.
I mean, he won us some games on special teams, and you got to think how talented that team is, that somebody like Brandon James is an afterthought, because he
Sure.
was an incredible talent all on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, like, especially a kid like this, even coming in, even at his size, like, I think it's 5'9", 160, running a 4, even if it was not a lasered 4.25, it's around 4.3. So, I mean, you're still getting somebody fast. I mean, the speed pops off on the film when you're watching it right now. And somebody like him coming in, of course, he's going to need to gain weight and all that stuff, and he's not the tallest guy. But hey, I mean, like, we put these kind of people on Urban Meyer's teams to block kicks and help on special teams when they first get here. And when was the last time we blocked a kick or done anything on special teams like that of that nature?
Sure.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Of course, you may not want to put him on kickoff returns right away. We'll see what happens just because of his size, but you can definitely put him back there to block kicks or tackle or do something like that. So, I mean, as far as like his size and all that, he's going to gain weight and everything there. I wouldn't worry about that. And plus, anytime you can get speed, I mean, Jeffrey Demps was not the biggest guy. I mean, I think he was 180, maybe 185. That dude was a blazer, and he made plays. So anytime you can get any of that kind of speed on your team, you want to take that, no matter where they're ranked, even if they're ranked in the 300s. If they're running a 4.2, take them.
Yeah. Well, and getting up to 185 when he's already 160, 165 as a high schooler is totally not out of the realm of possibilities for him. So, I mean, he very well could be Demps size in a year.
Look, I mean, Tyreek Hill obviously is a special beast. I'm not comparing this young man to Tyreek Hill. He's a league of his own. But Tyreek Hill's speed has simply just separated him from everybody else. And the rest has come along with it. And I think, again, speed is something that it is teachable, but there's a level, there's an extra tier that you're just born with it. And this kid has it. And again, you're just giving Lagway another weapon. So on top of Isaiah, who I met this weekend, great kid. I met him, Miles, and Darius all at Friday Night Lights. Great group of guys. They all took a photo. Just super chill, just dialed in. You could tell they were. It's cool to see. Like it's interesting because that generation's not as tuned in to social media as we think they are. It's very strange because they're so dialed into just playing football. Like they don't really have a team. They're bought into playing the game and being the best and getting to that next level. And that was kind of the vibe that I got. That was just all professional. But again, with Isaiah Williams and now Amir and now Hawkins, really starting to build around DJ. And again, the offensive line is something that I've been hinting towards, and we did well with that this past weekend. So the class is really starting to come together. We've been talking about it, and it's finally happened. So I'm glad we had this. Real quick, though, super chat from Dom. Appreciate you, big guy. $5 says, good to see y'all three. Heard Mario got invited to the submarine trip before December. Florida is on the right track. Just need to translate it on the field. I love it. Thank you, Dom, for the love and support. But yeah, good stuff. And anything else before we move on to the next one?
No, that's all I had to really say, man. Just special talent coming to Florida, man. We really need the speed. Obviously, you did that really well last cycle with the wide receivers we brought in. Now you're bringing in,
Yeah.
Jerrae Hawkins. That's going to be a bad combo right there, especially for the future of Florida. So I'm happy about it.
That's a great point to, again, the class that came in last year was extremely dangerous, and we expected to be dangerous. I think a lot of that had to do with Xavier Henderson transferring because he saw the class that was coming in that, look, will I play? Yeah, but my time's going to be fought with these new guys coming in, and he recognized that. And that's not a shot towards Xavier. I think look, he made the right decision, a business decision. Like, I need the most playing time that I can. Billy is working on the future, and I'm not part of that future, respectively. But I think that freshman class is going to be electric and something special to watch as well too. So it's exciting to see that things are moving in the right direction. We just dropped a video today and let me ask you this, Alec, because we talked about it last week when all the recruiting news happened. I referenced Gallagher, right? And landing or getting 20,000 points in Gallagher, you buy yourself an extra spaceship. Do you think Billy bought himself some more time with that recruiting?
Right, I don't get your video game references here.
You don't play Gallagher? You don't play Gallagher, Pac-Man, none of that? Oh, Allie, we gotta lock it in here, Allie. We gotta dial it in. So when you hit 20,000 on Gallagher, you earn an extra life. And I referenced that Billy probably earned himself a little bit of extra time. Can you agree with that, or you think I was overshooting there?
I think what Billy did by solidifying getting a really good base in this class is he's now allowed himself to take some really big swings on some really big fish. And if he misses on them, that's okay, because he's already filled this class with a ton of studs. So the last, 7 to 9 spots that are open, 8 spots, whatever it's going to be, he has plenty of lines in the water, and now is the opportunity to really go after a Jeremiah Smith or, a somebody who odds are you're not going to get him, but listen, you've got a great class, so you might as well try, right? And so I don't know if he bought himself another life, but I think he gave himself the ability to now really, really go after some really big long shots at this point.
I love that. I think that's a big thing to think about is, again, he created that base, so now we can take some chances, we can take some risk that we were trying to last year, but when we missed out, we were all in on those guys. It wasn't we were just taking shots. I was like, hey, we got to land these guys, and when we didn't, it's like, now what? So with the base, we got spots to fill, but we can take the chances, and even if we fall back a little bit and not get the big fish, we're still in a very healthy position, more than we were last year.
Yeah, it depends on what position you're talking about it, but if it's wide receiver, yeah. But where your class sits at right now, you can tell kids, hey, look, our class is filling up. If you don't commit within a certain amount of time, we're just going to go after somebody else. I mean, you've got that type of class right now to where you have the power to do that. As before, maybe 2 weeks ago, you didn't. Now you have that kind of in your favor. So now you can use that on the recruiting trail, especially down the stretch. July, August, right before the season starts for all the kids, and then early signing day coming up in December. There's not going to be much recruiting because your season starts. So you really got to tap in July, August, and get these guys in here.
Well, and you can say, all right, I'm recruiting 15 of you, but there's only 7 spots. So if you want to make sure you've got one of those 7 spots, you better jump now because it might not be there. Yep. And I do think that that's now the pitch, and Florida hasn't been able to give that pitch in years.
I think we saw it with the linebacker class. Everyone's kind of trying to troll us with the Chris Jones situation with Georgia, but I think it's like, hey, the bus filled up. And there was no more room. It wasn't a lack of, hey, we lost him. It was like, no, thanks, but no thanks. We got our guys.
The seat's taken.
Yeah, the seat's taken. It's still filled up. Real quick before we move on to the next topic, I think we're going to add a topic here. We didn't talk about this, but I know you guys will be prepared, so I'm not worried because I remember somebody texted us about it, Dave, so you know what I'm talking about. And now they're chirping about it in the comments. So we have to address it because I've brought it up before. Before I go into that, Ed, Super Chat, $5, says, fun seeing Allie with you goons, Beauty and the Beast. Clearly, when he says beauty, he's referring to me. And no, thank you, Ed. Yes, again, we love Allie.
My beautiful receding hairline.
Yeah, it's definitely Dave and I are beauty, and Allie is the beast in this situation. Real quick, so what they're talking about in the chat is they're referring to Coach Hayes talking about he heard a little birdie that DJ Lagway would flip to Clemson. Now, I was starting to sweat a little bit a few weeks before we had our massive recruiting class when they went and got one of our wide receiver targets. I don't remember his name now because he's dead to me. And they landed Simeon Brown. They had their weekend, right? They had their Jubilee weekend, which doesn't even compare to what we had. But at the time, it was a massive 2 to 3 day stretch. And I was sitting there going, shit, they're doing what Florida should be doing and putting together a team, and they need a quarterback. and Lagway was a target of theirs. Could this happen? Now, I feel a lot more confident now with what Billy's been able to do. But I think apparently, so what happened was Coach Hayes said on his show that a little birdie, I don't know if that birdie, is sick or not, but said that he could possibly be flipping to Clemson. So I'm going to ask you two, what's your thoughts on this little birdie here? I'll go to Allie, I'll go to you first, and then Dave will pass it over to you.
You go, Allie. You go ahead.
I honestly don't think that there's any chance that happens. Obviously, I can't be wrong, but from what I've been told, not only is Lagway really all in, his family is very much all in. His family and Napier have a really good rapport, have built a really good relationship. And DJ has been out there recruiting for Florida nonstop. And so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to publicly recruit for Florida and then leave all those guys that you got to come here and jump ship and go elsewhere. But I think that there's always going to be negative recruiting that happens. That's probably Clemson probably planted that seed somewhere along the line. They want that to be the word on the street,
They want the noise. They want the TMZ headlines. Yep.
Of course. And, for Napier, the negative recruiting is going to be, well, they didn't win last year. So if they don't win this year, he won't be there when you are actually, legitimately playing. And I think that what Napier has told this class is, look, we're not going to have a great season this year. We're building. And we want you to be a part of that. You can come in and have an immediate impact if you work hard. There's good opportunities for on the field play. And this is a total rebuild. And I think that the administration knows that it's a rebuild. I think that they're giving Billy a much longer leash than probably fans will give Napier. So I think that little birdie is not correct.
I love it. Dave?
Yeah, I love Coach Hayes to death. I've been on his show a couple times. I know he's a Miami guy, but he does do a lot of good coverage on high school kids, and I appreciate what he's done for us. I've known Coach Hayes for a while, but I'm pretty sure that what he was doing was just try to rile Florida fans up because, like Ali said, I mean, other elites want to play with other elites. If your class is full of elites, it's very hard to leave that class, especially when you're the leading quarterback and you're trying to recruit for your said school. He's not going to go through all this trouble and all his energy just to recruit for everybody and then just flip somewhere else. But, I mean, it is recruiting. Anything can happen. But at the same time, I just don't see Lagway going anywhere. I mean, that's a smoke show, if you were to ask me right now.
And we were talking about this precast a little bit. I'm getting kind of ahead of topics here. But you talked about Billy lacking and maybe in his ability to recruit the parents, right, and not vetting the parents enough. And then you mentioned, Lagway's parents, I think he's done a great job with vetting those parents and getting them bought in because we've saw with the Simmons situation, which is Allie's thoughts, guys. This is not mine. With the Rashada situation and the Simmons situations, that we may have dropped the ball. This is what she was referencing in the beginning on vetting the parents, where, like you just mentioned now, that Lagway, it doesn't feel the same way. So not only is Lagway bought in, but the parents are bought in. And I know they're bought in because they're interactive with our Twitter. And I'm not saying that like we're connected, but anytime I tweet, they retweet our stuff. He's mentioned before, like, hey, he loves the content. He loves our excitement. Does that mean anything? Not always, but it's more than what we have from most recruits. And that's something to kind of keep an eye on. So, look, Coach Hayes is kind of doing his job, right? Playing in the middle. And if he's hearing something, like you said, why wouldn't you plant that seed? Why wouldn't you want to get that into Notion and possibly get back to Lagway? It's like, well, maybe think about it. So it's just part of the game.
Coach Hayes had a dream one night and thought he heard something. So
it is what it is.
Well, and I mean, to be fair to Coach Hayes, somebody could have told him that he believes, and that's the person that's wrong. It doesn't have to be that Coach Hayes pulled this out of nowhere.
Sure, it's the birdie's fault. Matt Hayes is just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger, boys.
I love Coach. Hey, Coach Hayes, I love him.
He's good. Yeah, he's great. He's great. Quick 2 super chats here, and then we're going to move on to our next subject. Kyle Bray says, you boys out here looking like snacks. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. And then $20, let's go, from Golf Week AM Tour says Lagway is a lock. I love it. I love the energy. And another super chat from Brian Fisher says, love getting these videos updates from Allie. I think we all do. They're great videos. Make sure you guys, if you're not subscribed to Allie Peak, you shouldn't be here. Make sure you guys go subscribe and follow her on Twitter as well, too. Also, we have 270 people in here and not 100 likes. I'm not saying I'm upset. I'm just disappointed, guys. Thought we were better than that. Thought we were family. All right, moving on. Friday Night Lights recap. We were live at Friday Night Lights. We had a great time. It did not end up going into the stadium. I saw a lot of you guys commenting, why was it in the stadium? It was monsooning. Okay, it was an absolute hurricane. It was raining sideways when we were there in Florida. It was disappointing. They had the field painted up beautifully. I went to the stadium. I have a banger of a video dropping probably in a week and a half. Really putting a lot of work into this. It's going to be sick. It's like a little half the way season hype video. So keep your eyes peeled out for that. But they had it ready to go. They were planning on going into the stadium to do their one-on-ones, but it didn't go out that way. But it was a star-studded event. Anthony Richardson came out. He worked with the quarterbacks. My little brother, I got some clips of him, and I'll actually go to that now. But he was working with him, which was cool to see. It was just straight business, right? Everyone was working hard and being involved. Elam was there, who was just drafted 2 years ago. I think he's a safety or cornerback to Buffalo. Torrance was there. Carter was there. Brandon Spikes was there, spoke with Brandon Spikes, asked him to come on the show. He said he would once Swamp Kings would come out. So we're going to stay on top of that and see how that works out. We're really excited to have that. But all in all, it was a great event. I had Connor Clark on the show while we were there. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out. But the event is changing from what it's been in years past. It's not like it used to be. And for that, I'm going to go back to Allie where she talks about how when Urban created it, what it was meant for and what it's translated to now. And we'll go from there. Allie?
Yeah, so when Urban created it, I was at Florida. My husband, Eric, was playing for Florida. And when Friday Night Lights was created, it was the only event like it in the entire country. It was so incredibly hyped up. Kids flew in from literally everywhere across the country to attend. And then schools spent the next decade copying that formula and coming up with their own version of Friday Night Lights. I remember distinctly Chaz Henry, he's the punter that punted after Eric graduated. And I can remember Urban offering him on the field and Chaz accepting on the spot. And that was interesting because Chaz is from Tennessee and his entire family are massive Vols fans. So he had to turn around to them and be like, I just committed. Sorry, guys. But they were getting lots of commitments on the spot from guys that they were offering. But I think that recruiting is just a different world now than it was then. Your offers are coming so much earlier. The entire timeline has moved up now that there is an early signing period and guys are committing earlier. So I just think now it's become a lot more about the younger players than it used to, which is fine, but it's just different than it used to be. And I think that now every school has so many camps. These kids are going to, 6-7 different camps over the course of the summer that it's lost a little bit of its luster, and not because of anything that UF is doing, but just because honestly their amazing idea was duplicated so many times over that it's no longer unique. So at this point, UF probably has to reimagine what they're going to do over the summer and come up with another event that everybody's going to spend the next decade copying.
And here's the thing too, is I kind of liked, even though last year was a massive event, they had a lot of recruits there. It felt like it was a pivotal point for Billy in the recruiting cycle.
Sure.
This year, it felt more organized. It felt like an actual camp, which I liked. And it was more directed towards the future, like you just said. And Billy, even last year, he was out walking around. All the coaches were walking around because he was new. He was fresh. Nobody was really excited to really talk to Billy. Last year, I walked right up to Billy. It was like, hey, man, I'm showing. He's like, hey, who are you with? And he talked to me because he's trying to have everyone buy in. This year, Buddy showed up in a golf cart minutes before he had a chit-chat, right? He knew. He's like, Billy Napier, King's in town, all right? And I liked that. I liked that he had that swagger about him. I think he was with Miles Grahams and Adarius Hayes and those guys and kind of really trying to lock those guys in. And after that, Adarius locked his recruiting down, and so did Isaiah. So could that have been, part of that? I don't know. But I think he was doing more business this time with the guys that were there, and then focused in and came in and did a speech, which I'm going to post later this week as well. But look, I like where it's headed, and I think what you said, Allie, I think because of it's the minutia that has been surrounding it, it's been watered down because it's not as special as it once was. It's still really cool to go throw balls in the swamp at night, which didn't happen this time. That's definitely the coolest part. I think that will always have this camp stand out versus other camps, because my little brother, who you see right now throwing, he went to UCF's camp on Monday, which was just a quarterback camp. And I go, how does it differ? How is it from this camp to that camp? He goes, well, that camp, it was just quarterbacks. And it wasn't as exciting because they didn't have one-on-ones, and it was just more drills and throwing at targets. So Friday Night Lights still has its separation, but not, like you said, not what it was originally created for, because that's where we're headed. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you see it now where schools are starting to copy each other, putting in expensive cars and these commitment videos and photos. And of course, you're doing the Friday Night Lights thing. And I even heard that they're going to make changes to it too. So I'm even more really curious about what they're going to do in the future when it comes to Friday Night Lights, or if it's even going to be named Friday Night Lights anymore, if it's going to be named something else. So, I mean, with the facilities and the things that you got going on right now at the University of Florida and as much of the money as they're gonna dump into the stadium and all of that, I mean, you can come up with some pretty cool concepts for, visitors or whatever kind of event that you wanna have every year, and I've always been curious to now know, like, what are they gonna do in the future? I mean, because you see a lot of these schools doing so many different things when kids come on visits. I wanna see how unique and different it is now as opposed to I mean, I guess in a year from now as opposed to right now, because, I mean, you had it last year because Billy Napier just got here. You had it last year. This year, they're kinda Friday Night Lights was here, now they're gonna do a cookout in July. So I'm really curious to see what they do next year and see how the concept's laid out, if it's the same day, if it's, like, right after the dead period or before the dead period. I think it's gonna be kinda cool, man.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think, look, you know what the best part about it too? I think Billy's starting to get control. I think the
Yeah.
first year he was playing along the rules of what's expected, and now he's starting to. Well, no, this is how I plan to do it, and that's what we're starting to see. So, good stuff there. Real quick though, Ultra Gator says, "Man, Shelton, you can't be releasing all these videos as frequently as you have been the last few weeks, and then all of a sudden, you stop doing it." He goes, "I'm having major withdrawals." Well, Ultra Gator, I am too, trust me. But it has not been easy, not been able to crank out content and post daily in a couple days, couple times a day, like I have been. I'm missing it too, but I'm enjoying myself. So I'm on vacation, so cut me some slack. We'll be back to business next week.
Yeah, I'll say I've been trying to contact Shelton, and his signal has not been great. So
Yeah,
we've been in minimal contact this week.
it's touch and go, boys. It's touch and go. It's like that's how our text messages are going through. So trust me, I've appreciated it, I've enjoyed it, but I have created this monster that I love and am addicted to, and so it's been hard to deal with, but it's been good for me mentally to kind of forcefully step away at the same time. I feel like it's just Hawkins couldn't wait until next week. I'll talk to him about it. It's no big deal. I'm not mad about it. I'm just disappointed. Moving on. Let's talk about, so obviously job's not finished. We've got some more guys that we need to commit. We were just talking, Al was just referencing, hey, some big fish we're going to go after. Corey Bender dropped a great article from On3, we're not taking any credit here, about some potential targets, who we have left. So let's go over those names, and then I'll pass it over to you guys on the thoughts, and maybe there's some names that he left out that you're eyeing on the future. We've got Teddy Foster, cornerback, 3-star kid out of Sarasota, Florida, 6'2", as long with Kendall Jackson, defensive lineman, who we've had on the show. He is from Buchholz. This one seems like it feels right because obviously a hometown kid. We had on the show. He had Arkansas and Kentucky left for some visits, and he didn't really show any signs that, hey, Florida was his top school. He's like, they were leading the way at the moment, but he was excited to go see his visits. So it'll be something interesting to kind of keep an eye on. And then Ty Hilton. Hilton, 3-star offensive tackle, 6'4", 272. Gonna be weird when I say this, but it seems a little small compared to what Billy is used to going after. But right now, according to On3, we lead the way. So, Allie, I'll go to you first on your thoughts on those three, and if you have anybody else in mind that you think Billy is still gonna be going after.
I mean, I have a whole list that those three are not on for guys that I think Billy is still going after. I do think we need offensive linemen, but I honestly prefer Fletcher Westphal. I think that he is going to be a really good left tackle for somebody. I'd like it to be for us. Supposedly it's us and Arkansas kind of battling it out there, although Clemson's still in the mix. He's from Virginia, so the Virginia schools as well. But he's 6'8", 300 pounds, guys. Like, that's massive. And I'm pretty sure I said that he was 300 pounds in a video like a few weeks ago, and his dad was like, he's 330. So I don't know. He's big. He's really, really has high football IQ. So I think that he would be a really good addition. And then Ethan Callaway announces soon as well, from North Carolina, really athletic, 6'7", 300 pounds. Both of those guys seem more in line with the size that Billy likes in the trenches. So I would be pretty interested in either one of them. And then if we're talking defensive linemen, we also have LJ McCray, who hasn't committed yet, and well, I guess Zayman's a safety, but on the defensive side of the ball, both of those guys from Mainland. I'm kind of surprised that neither one have popped. Dave, I don't know if that's something that has surprised you or if you think they'll just end up elsewhere. But I mean, we were hearing things about both of them weeks ago and then nothing ever kind of transpired. So I don't know if that means they're less interested in Florida. But you've got to think from some of these guys we're going to hear soon, because like we talked about earlier, they're going to lose a spot if they don't jump quickly.
Yeah, those two are kind of tricky too, because I figured at least one of those people would have popped already, but they seem to have, like, I guess, waited, or they're kind of like thinking it over or something, and maybe they have communication with the staff, and maybe the staff is maybe they've silently committed and they said, hey, wait, or whatever. We don't know that. None of us know that.
Right.
So
Right, that's true. Could totally be a silent or something like that.
yeah, and of course, I mean, we all know the interest in Florida from both of those guys, and it's very high. So you still got that riding on your plate on top of the recruiting class that you have right now. And as I said earlier, you can put pressure on anybody you want to. I don't know if they put pressure on them or if they've said anything to them, but I still think the interest is there from Florida from both of those guys. But as far as like Ethan Callaway, Fletcher Westfall, I mean Fletcher Westfall, like you said, 6'8", 330. I mean, he did come off of a visit from Arkansas just recently, and then Ethan Callaway, he came off a visit of LSU just recently as well. There's some LSU smoke there with Ethan Callaway, but I still think Florida's in that one as well. So I think it's going to come down to like Florida, LSU there. And then Fletcher Westfall, I mean, he's one of those guys that's like it looks like he's pro Florida. I would pick Florida as the favorite right now. But I mean, you still got Arkansas, and you still got all these other SEC schools to deal with as well. Clemson, Georgia. I mean, I think Georgia's probably the biggest threat there. But I mean, as far as those guys go, like you said, I would rather have those guys right now, considering the offensive line and some of the other guys that you were talking about there. But Teddy Foster, I mean, that's a guy that I know Corey Raymond's really interested in. I know he's lowly rated; he's around like 700 or so. I mean, he did come off his last visit being Florida. If there was anybody in that three that you just mentioned, Kendall Jackson, Ty Hilton, Teddy Foster, I think Teddy Foster is the one that I'm kind of feeling a little bit better about more than Kendall Jackson or Ty Hilton. And I know we had Kendall Jackson on the show, and like you said, he hasn't really kind of, I guess, said he's had a favorite. So with what we're bringing into, I don't know if maybe he's in the wait and see mode, or if it's just maybe, maybe he just wants to go elsewhere, or maybe he sees the writing on the wall. I have no clue. I don't know what kind of communication that they had with staff. And as far as Ty Hilton goes, like you said, that's not the typical offensive line that Rob Sale likes. He likes those big, tall offensive linemen there. I'm not too sure on Ty Hilton either, but if one of those three, I would pick Teddy Foster over the other two.
And yeah, to your point, Ali, Zay Mincy and LJ McCray, I just the noise that LJ was giving us, Zay Mincy, I feel like has been on the hook for a while now, and I feel like those names are going to pop for quite some time. So, look, I think he said keep an eye out. Callaway, they're saying in the comments, commits Friday. I don't know if that's how true, so that'll be interesting.
And then I think Westfall is July the 10th, I believe.
July 10th, yeah.
And
so
Westfall,
they're soon.
Allie, we've been on the same page with Westfall. We've been Team Westfall for about a minute now. I talk every time I go live. I just say Fletcher Westfall, hoping that he sees it and goes, okay, we got to go there. Go to Florida. Right. Four-star offensive tackle, absolute stud. I think he'll really bring together that offensive line class that has been drafted so far. So, and I have been beating the drum on the offensive line and just having two classes. And he even referenced having two offensive line coaches. So I think I mean, I feel like if we're able to land that one, that would really put together a healthy offensive line class. And you've mentioned 1,000 times, Ali. I always reference the one time you came on the show that stars and offensive line. It's a muddy area to where it's not as thorough as the other positions because of just the lack of.
You have no idea what you're getting.
Yeah, just because of the lack of development, right? So you're really going for size, and we have a lot of it. So. Excited to see what's going to happen there. We got one last topic with Allie, and then we're going to bring Mr. Steven Chad on. But real quick, we got Brian Fisher says $5. The Gators will start the season 4-0. We'll beat Utah, Tennessee. Utah is Utah, and Milton is overhyped and lost his weapons. Book it. I love the energy.
I like that prediction.
I like the positivity.
I love it. We also had 320 people in here, which is a record, I would say, this year on a Wednesday show, which is awesome to have it in the middle of June. buzz in Wisconsin. I love seeing that number there, but make sure you guys drop a like and show some love. You got me fired up here tonight, boys and girls. But
we need a like for every viewer.
Yeah, we need a like for every sip of old-fashioned I'm taking. So the dogs stay dirty. We were talking about this precast a little bit. I was going to leave it off, but you can't, because at this point it's in your face day in and day out. Obviously there's some noise coming out with another player getting into some issues. I don't know if you shared it, Dave, where this is the same player that posted the racial slur during the draft too, right? It's Carter, right?
Somebody else posted it. I think I just retweeted it, but yeah, it was the same guy.
Okay. So obviously getting into some issues with, I don't know what we can say without getting in trouble here on YouTube, but if you haven't, seen the story, look it up. But obviously there's issues with, I think, sexual harassment. I think I can say that without being in trouble. So that's kind of where it's headed. And I'm going to pass it to Allie, because she made a great point before the show, and I don't want to steal her thunder. So I'll pass it to you, and then we'll build from there, Allie.
Rack my brain about what great point I made. I think overall it is a lot easier to win a championship, to get to the top of the mountain, than it is to stay at the top of the mountain. And I think that Urban experienced that at Florida. I think he then experienced that at Ohio State. I think that Kirby is experiencing that right now at Georgia. I think it's they have a similar situation that we have in Gainesville, where it's a really small town. So when you win a championship, you become kind of the kings of that town. You feel very invincible. 18 to 22-year-old guys already kind of feel invincible, right? And then you throw the money with NIL into the situation as well. And the fact that in these small towns, the girls are going to follow you around. Guys want to hang out with you. Bars want to give you free drinks. It's just a recipe for chaos if you don't have the right leader to control it. And I'm not saying Kirby's not the right leader, but there's a lot of instances that are independent of each other enough to say that where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a lot of situations where the football players themselves seem to think that the rules don't apply to them. And I lived this when Florida won in 2006 and 2008. And so I, recognize signs of things that happen for UF as well. And the problem though is that Kirby seems to care more about covering it up than he cares about addressing it head on. And maybe that's wrong, but that's what it appears from the outside looking in. And, even today, a new law was signed in Georgia where, now, if there is a request for information, it used to be that Georgia had 15 days to respond. I believe it was 15 days. Now they have 90 days before they even have to acknowledge that you've put in a request. So, and it's being billed as the Kirby law. And that's because Kirby went to Capitol Hill and fought for this to happen. And what they keep saying over and over again, these lawmakers in Georgia, is we wanted to help Georgia be competitive with the rest of the SEC. Except no other state that has an SEC school has 90 business days to even acknowledge that you've asked for some piece of information. So that means how money is being spent, arrest reports, anything that they can hide. They now have a much longer window of time to do that. And think about the length of a football season. You don't even have to acknowledge that they've made the request for 90 days. And then after that 90 days, you don't have to give them to it on that 90th day. You just have to acknowledge that they even asked. So then you're on the clock for when you actually get them that information. That's long enough to play an entire football season for the most part. And Kirby fought for that. So instead of more transparency, we get less. And that, coupled with all of the arrests that have happened and the allegations that have come out, it's not a good look for Georgia.
And you talked a little bit. We mentioned it before the show, because obviously with the sexual harassment, unfortunately this situation has started to evolve where a guy's career has been ruined because females have come out and claimed that this has happened, and it hasn't happened for money and what's it, because again, the reason being that it wasn't being monitored closely. So then the switch flipped, where anytime somebody said anything, it's like we have to react, and which would ruin somebody's career. So now we're in this kind of weird area where we don't know what to believe anymore. You hear it now, and everybody reacts, but it's like, I don't know if that's true or not, right? And so it sucks. It's a really horrible situation, because here we were kind of prefacing too, there's a multiple situations. One, we don't know if it's what happened actually happened is number one. Number two, this is the fifth or sixth story now with Georgia in the last 6 months. It started as a joke where Dave's over here posting memes with Stetson Bennett being chased by a police car, right? So we're now it's like every week something's coming out.
I didn't do that.
And so now it's like, okay, well, if it's happening week in and week out, it's not that everyone just getting around and gathering together saying, hey, like these guys are screwing us over. It's like, no, like you said, that winning championships, you got ego, and now money's involved. It's hard to really kind of corral all that in. Go ahead.
I think that it's also that these are really serious things. It's not like we used to joke that GPD loved to arrest Florida football players, but it's not like there's 11 guys who have been arrested for underage drinking at the bar or something that like every other college student's doing, driving 10 miles over the speed limit or, an expired tag or something like that. We're talking about drag racing that killed a player and another member of the Georgia football staff. There was alcohol involved in that. We're talking about rape allegations. We're talking about serious, serious things, not just typical college behavior that's now being highlighted because you're in a small town and
stuck into a bar. They use a fake ID. Yeah, just basic kid
right.
shit.
It's not the same thing that
just
like
grown
all of
adult
us
stuff.
Yeah. These are life-changing events that appear to be being swept under the rug.
Dave?
Yeah, and I think you face an even bigger obstacle when, of course, Kirby in Georgia, they're recruiting at a high level right now. You got the best of the best players, a lot of them coming to your school. So they already have kind of like an ego about them a little bit. And then you throw NIL into that with no limits on it whatsoever, which there should have been limits when they first introduced it. And now you have all these kids with all these Dodge Charger Hellcats driving like 700 horsepower, 800 horsepower in those things. And then, I mean, you see arrest videos of body cam footage of one of the Georgia players getting pulled over and the cop lets him go for going 85 or 89 into 45. Like anybody else that does that's not getting let go. I mean, they're going straight to jail. And I think a problem of that is a lot of these cops are letting these kids go because they play on the football team. And of course, they've issued tickets and stuff like that too. And then you run into these scenes where you have accidents right after winning a national championship and all these horrific things that happen on top of coupled with a lot of the stuff that you know just happened today and that just hit national media and CBS and all that stuff. I mean, you look at it. I mean, it's not a good look at all whatsoever for Georgia football. And as much as I love to troll them and whatever, I do that on Twitter. I mean, dead serious. It's not a good look at all. It's just Nick Saban went through his success, and he had his issues. Like Saban had his issues at Alabama, but was never like
level.
this. It was never at the level of this, like at all. And I think a current cornerback commit got caught with a couple of guns and some marijuana in his car, and that was it.
Yeah,
like,
Tony Mitchell. And he's still on the team. He didn't get suspended. He got suspended, but he didn't get kicked from the team. But I was going to reference that on Saban. So we talked about it last week. Is Kirby Smart the new standard? And if everyone's getting arrested every other week, I don't know if that's the standard here that we're looking at. But it also shows how hard it is to be on top. And I always talk about this, and I get a lot of flack for it, and I'm sure I will now. But I always say Tiger Woods is the GOAT. Even though Jack Nicklaus has more majors, I say Tiger Woods is the GOAT because of how long he remained at number one. Let's take away what he did off the field for a minute. How long he was able to stay at number one. Now, in golf, when you're number one, you got afterwards, it's not you just go home and hang out. You've got interviews, you've got commercials, you've got a lot more responsibility when you are the dog, ego, etc. All these things. It starts to take away, it starts to eat away at you, and it takes away from practice. Again, it just speaks to what Saban's been able to do and how long he's been able to do it. And again, that's what we keep asking, can Kirby do it again? And it feels like it's falling apart. We'll see how it comes together this season, if it is, or if it's just noise and people are trying to stir things up, or if he's able to rein it back in. Look, like you said, we like to shit on Georgia, but nobody likes to see the kids' careers go down the drain for the cost of, these guys failing. I just want them to lose fair and square. I don't need people to get arrested for them to lose. I just wanted them to get beat the right way. But
get beat on the field. Don't beat yourself off the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Allie, pleasure as always. The comments go berserk when you're on the show. They love when you're on here. I love when you're on here. I think it's a great time. I'm glad you came back. Hopefully we bought some more, time with you that you'll be able to come back on and join us. I love it.
Definitely.
I think It's a great time as always. It's an absolute blast. Next time, hopefully, I'll be a little more, in studio, a little more sober. But I think we did good. We handled it. We handled our business per usual.
More fun, though.
Yeah, look, I got the blood flowing. I'm at a good little. I ate right before I came because I was getting a little too I went over to the wife. I was like, I got to simmer down. But Allie, tell them where they can find you. I want them to just make sure they subscribe to you and follow you on Twitter to keep up with all of your videos, and then we're gonna let you go.
A peek inside Gator football on YouTube, and then you can find me at Allie_peek PEEK on Twitter.
Awesome, Allie. Thank you again. You have a great night.
Yeah. Thank you, Allie.
To you and your family. Have a great 4th of July weekend, and be safe. And we'll have you on soon.
Sounds good. See you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie.
All right, Stevie, we're bringing you in, big guy. Look at this guy's been
Now
working out. He got a uniform
change.
change. The chat went down to 50 people when I left. I don't know what we were thinking.
I know.
This is a horrible PR move. Horrible PR move here.
I can understand. I almost stopped watching when Allie got off the channel. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, well, this is over. I'm not gonna waste my time any longer.
This is stupid. Unbelievable.
The brains of this operation just exited the building. So
yeah. Oh, jeez. I can't believe it. All right. Steve, good to see you, buddy.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Good to see you, big guy. I hope you guys are having a great show. Make sure you guys, we got 300 people in the chat and only 162 likes. What's up, boys? Like, it's free. You just take your finger and go, boop. That's it. That's all you got. All right, look, we got a few things here. We're going to go over yes or no. Will you go out with me? You guys remember in high school when you would, pass the letter? Maybe it was middle school. Yes or no, you circle it. What are my chances? What am I looking at? Sometimes you add a little maybe in there, right? Because you want the tease. Corey Bender, another great article was dropped by him on his yeses or nos, on his maybes, right? On his who do we have a chance with? And let's go over them because we just talked about who we think, and Dave gave his thoughts, Allie gave her thoughts, and Steve's going to give his yeses or nos for Florida State. So for Corey Bender's yeses, he has LJ McCray and Zay Mincy, who we just got done going over on who he thinks it looks great for us. LJ being a defensive lineman, Zay being a DB. Two guys who we just went over in our mock draft, right, our mock prospects that we need to go after. Jerrae Howard, cornerback, who's been some on the list as well, that we expected to commit a long time ago when he decommitted from Michigan State. It seems to be that FSU and Florida seem to be the front runners there, being a Florida kid. Teddy Foster, Jordan Ross, number 3 edge in the country. If you want to tickle me pink and flip me over sideways, let us get Jordan Ross, okay? Because my goodness, you thought I got fired up for Jamonte Waller. You add that with Kelby Collins and Princely. I'm going to have double old-fashions next stream. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Kendall Jackson, he's high on Kendall, and DeAndre Robinson. Remember DeAndre Robinson, his mom posted a ton after that visit, which we just got done speaking about, how connecting with the parents is more important than maybe people are realizing. So that's a big yes there. Wardell Mack is also a yes. Now, all those names we've been heavy on. Here's some no's, and here's why I like this. It's good to kind of just let's get up and move on. Just like when Miles came on, he kind of talked about Jeremiah Smith. He said, no way, it's not going to happen. It hurts, but at least we know, hey, get over it, right? Don't worry about it. It's more likely not going to happen. The no's for Bender here are Colin Simmons, who Miles said maybe. Now, if we land, a Jordan Ross, I'll take 2 top edges to lose the number 1 edge. It's part of doing business. David Stone, defensive lineman out of IMG, who also visited during that big weekend. Jalen Crawford, Jalen Harvey are all no's. Honestly, those are edge and cornerbacks. If we're able to get the yeses that we get, it's a wash for me. As for his maybes, he's got Jaden Jackson, who's also from IMG. He visited during that Jubilee weekend. Dylan Evans, who is that defensive lineman who's currently decommitted from Texas A&M. We thought he was going to pop a long time ago. That has seemed to go quiet, but it's kind of in a weird maybe situation. Jameer Grimsley is another maybe, Ashton Hampton, and that's it for the maybes. So, look, I know there's a lot of thoughts on where we're going after, but as Allie also mentioned, we are in a place right now where we can kind of go after some bigger fish. That list that I just gave you solidifies everything that she said, right? We're able to go after and throw the bait out there and hopefully reel on a few big ones. So, hopefully we'll see. I got a little tickle there. But, Dave, what's your thoughts on that? And then I'll pass it over to Steve to kind of give us his yes and no's for Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, in ways, I do kind of agree with Corey Bender on some of them. Some of them, maybe I'm leaning more towards no than maybe, or more towards yes than maybe. But at the end of the day, like you said, Florida's in a good position to kind of pick and choose, I guess, as the class fills up. Because, like I said, other elites want to play with other elites. I do feel real good about Mincy. I feel good about McCray. There's some of them I don't feel good about. Jordan Ross is going to probably be a Tennessee Florida battle. Be honest. I like our chances, but Tennessee's in there too. So I mean, you're just gonna have to play that one out. But as far as everything else, man, with what Corey has said, I'm kind of on the wait and see side. I mean, like a lot of these kids, if you've noticed, some of them have moved up their commitment dates, and some of them have pushed them back. So I don't know if that is a staff telling somebody something, and then maybe they push the date back, or they bring it forward. Like we saw it with Hawkins, he pushed his date forward, and then he committed to Florida. So maybe they just said, "Hey, look." I'm not going to say that they told him that he was going to lose his spot, and maybe he just felt like he wanted to commit right then and there, and he did it. So you're seeing a lot of movement with some of these targets that we have, and so that's what makes it really interesting is the movement and kind of like them announcing their dates, moving it somewhere else, or some of them haven't even announced a date yet. So, I mean, it's going to get interesting from July to August here before the season starts, and especially, and I know Holly's got some Florida State stuff coming up here. He expects a big month in July, but I mean, schools are really trying to hunker down and get kids right before their season start, and because of early signing day, so it's going to get interesting here between July and August.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, FSU has got a huge July lined up. Obviously, our big recruiting weekend was just last weekend, and we saw after what Florida did. You don't always get that instant gratification, that instant traction. We'll certainly talk a little bit about some NIL changes here in a minute. But look, I mean, it's not a situation like what Ali talked about with Friday Night Lights and Urban any longer, right? You've got to have a situation now where even if a kid wants to give their commitment, you got a whole business deal you still got to work out. The days of just committing on the field like that, those don't exist any longer, right? So even if there are some commitments that came out of that big weekend, I think a lot like what Florida saw, it's going to take a little bit to get the business side of the sport worked out. But I'll go down a couple of yes, maybes, no's. I'm going to go with James Madison as a yes, the 4-star wide receiver out of Fort Lauderdale. Look, FSU needed to reload on wide receivers, and it is a hell of a class out there for it. A lot of talent coming out of Florida, and it looks like James Madison is going to be a yes for FSU in that regard. Add just another big body to that wide receiver commitment team so that we already have set up. Look, I'm going to go with LJ McCray as a maybe on this. I know it has seemed like he has been a big-time Florida lean, and look, I thought he was ready to commit after your big weekend here just at the beginning of the month. But I think the longer we see him stay on the sidelines and not become a part of that team tells me that there's something that he's still looking for or that he didn't quite get in that visit. At this point, there was just a whole freight train of recruits that came through, and you would think that kind of momentum would have him jump on then if everything was a go. There's not a reason to wait at this point, right? So I'm going to put LJ McCray as a maybe, and I think there's still a lot more work to be done on his recruitment than where maybe Florida thought they were, because I think FSU still got a little bit of a play in with him. I'm gonna go with Ricky Knight as a maybe. Ricky Knight is a 3-star DB out of Palm Beach. Love his talent. Guy is got size, but he's also a relatively new name that has come up out of nowhere after a couple of really impressive camps. Kind of out of nowhere name that popped up, and he has looked super good in just about every camp that he's attended, and it looks like it's going to come down to Florida State and Miami on that one. Obviously, Palm Beach, Miami is the hometown at that point, but I like where FSU's at with Ricky Knight, at least for now. So I'm going to go with maybe there. And for no, again, just coming off the big weekend, a lot of names that we saw some positive news from. One of the names that I did not get a very good vibe from was the 4-star tight end, Kylan Fox. It looks like Kylan Fox was ready to make a commitment, and it doesn't feel like FSU was ready to take that commitment right on the spot. I mean, you're looking at a 4-star tight end. I'm not saying the kid's not talented, doesn't have all the talent in the world. He's out of Georgia, actually plays for the rival school of Landon Thomas, the 5-star tight end that's committed to Florida State currently. But I still believe that tight end is a massive position of need. And, oh, by the way, you have the number 1 top 10 overall tight end already committed. I'm not sure if right now, if Kylan Fox is ready to make that decision, and if he is, and he wants to make his commitment, he wants to shut down his recruitment. I don't know if Florida State is going to be where he lands. I think right now, if all things ended tonight, I think he ends up at UCF.
Good stuff. Thank you for the update. But Steve, I'm in the middle of the fucking woods here in Wisconsin. Okay, I'm just going to show you guys really quick here, kind of where I'm at here. Look at this view. Okay, look how beautiful this is. Okay, middle of nowhere. And my internet connection is better than yours. So you are ridiculous.
Like this all day.
Log out real quick and log back in. We'll wait for you. We're gonna hop into the national letter of intent subject while you are fixing this. But let's see if we get like guys, what are we? I'm in the middle of nowhere. Steve needs to lock it in. Steve needs to lock it in, dude.
I have gigabit. I'm still kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, but at least I can hear you. You don't sound like a robot. You know what I mean?
That's true.
You know what I mean? While we wait on our old boy here, let me go ahead and fix this here. I'll add me twice here until Dave comes back. Let's talk about the national letter of intent changes, and it kind of supports the LeBlanc situation on what happened. So I'm going to pass it to you, Dave, to reference those really quick while we go into that. And Holly should be back and ready to rock and roll. Good to see you, big guy. We're going to talk about national letter of intent. Dave's going to go over the changes, and then we'll go over that. Dave?
Yeah, Nicole Arbach of, it looks like SiriusXM, The Athletics, she had made a post earlier, actually yesterday, that said new changes were coming to the National Letter of Intent. One of those changes is the National Letter of Intent penalty will no longer apply if NLI signee requests a release because of a head coaching change, which I do agree with, because the head coach changes and you already signed the National Letter of Intent, you can get out of that. They do that with the transfer portal too. So if a head coach gets fired, could instantly transfer, be immediately eligible. So I do like that rule. This one, kind of weird. I guess if you look at it in certain perspectives, national letter of intent penalty won't apply if athlete leaves after one academic semester / quarter. That one's kind of interesting. Like you said, with the LeBlanc situation and all of that. Now you can, it looks like you can go a semester and still be able to get out of it. If that's what I'm reading correctly. I don't know if there's any rules or regulations to that or any kind of loopholes to it, but that was pretty interesting. And then she said one more change per source, and she did say per source. 4-year transfers will also be able to sign a national letter of intent after entering the portal. They don't have to do this, but signing a national letter of intent would trigger a recruiting ban. So back before, you would have to, if you did sign a national letter of intent after 4 years, you would get a ban. Now that's lifted. So that's a per source kind of thing. So that doesn't mean it's set in stone.
So, look, I think it's a weird situation. I think with the LeBlanc thing, I think it's great that he's able to transfer and not burn a transfer, because that was something that was interesting to me. I was like, how is this guy going to leave after a semester and burn a transfer? So I like it because I'm pretty sure from what we heard, we spoke with the Oklahoma guy, that he left because of his mother being sick. And look, I'm always a fan of, like, hey, if you need to move closer to home for those situations. It feels like everything is headed towards benefiting the player, which, look, for as long as it's been not benefiting the player, it's good to see these guys finally having an upper hand. Look, I think there's going to be definitely changes as this moves on, because it's been so stricken that they have to open it up a little bit. So we'll see how that plays out. But real quick, super chat from Harlan Harris. He says, for Holly's Wi-Fi upgrade, the $2 there. Thank you for that. And $5 for Potato Head. Says, who is High Top trying to recruit in the Great White North? Hockey or wrestling? Took his NIL bag on the road. You know, I'm here for whatever is needed. And if I've got to go get a big offensive lineman, corn-fed boy up here from the north, hauling lumber and cutting down trees, I'll do what's needed for the squad. And that's what I'm doing here this week, trying to find us some big boys, okay, to fill that lineup. Both sides of the ball here now, okay? Nothing like a big old, corn-fed boy to break down the trenches for you. So that's what we're doing up here. But appreciate you guys hanging out with us as much as always. The support's incredible, per usual. We're 3 away from 200 likes, so smash the like button, show some love, and we really do appreciate you guys, as always.
Smash it.
Moving on from that, we have Miami. 3-star U. Hashtag never back, never will be back. Now, I know we're going to get a lot of flack from this because it's Miami, and it's fun to make fun of them. I try to be biased, but let's be honest. Welcome to the show, okay? I looked it up because they keep coming to my Twitter timeline. They have 10 3-star commits and 3 4-star commits currently, with an average rating of like 87, 88, ranked 29th currently. So we're looking at about 10 to 13 more commits. And there isn't many top guys left over. I mean, these guys are starting to commit early. We just got done talking about this, where the recruiting cycle, the recruiting process has changed tremendously. And look, I don't think they're going to have a big surge like they did last year. It was new, it was fresh, crystal balls coming in. I don't see that repeating. Do they land some more studs? Absolutely. But out of the 3 4-star recruits, one of them being Chance Robinson, is on flip alert to Florida right now. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know, right? I'm not going to say that's going to, but he is on flip alert. So you're one of your top, I think he's either the second rated or highest rated guy on your team, may not stick. Second rated highest guy on your team may not stick. I don't know if they have a quarterback. If he does, he's a 3-star. One of those guys is as a kicker. That's their commit. I mean, they're a laughing stock. I don't understand how that they continue to be brought up on my timeline, how I continue to see their nonsense. Like, stop it. And look, so I feel this is how Georgia must feel. When Georgia rags on Florida and kind of talks shit when we get rowdy for a big weekend, and I get it, but Miami hasn't done shit, and they're on my timeline. So there's levels to this, right? Like you got higher class, middle class, and lower class. Georgia right now is in the higher class. We're middle class. Miami isn't even lower class. They're just kind of just picking up the pieces. Am I wrong here? Am I going a little too hard on these guys?
Yeah, well, recruiting ends in December and February, so I wouldn't shut the door on them just taking 3 stars the whole cycle. But right now, if you look at it, it really doesn't look good. I mean, you go look at their class. They have I posted a Twitter stat that said they had a 25% blue chip ratio. Now they just added another 3-star. Now it's down to 23. So I don't know what's going on in Coral Gables. It might be that a certain lawyer's in some deep doo and he can't help them and bail them out anymore. That could be the I'm pretty sure that is the main reason there. I hear about, we have all these other donors and all this other kind of stuff, and then they're going 12-0 this year, and I haven't seen anything yet. So I mean, will they get some elites? And may they pick up some other elites? Yeah, sure. But right now, where they're at, if they keep the guys that they have in their class, they would have to get like top 20, top 10, top 30, top 50, fill their class out just to even reach the top 10 right now. So I mean, you could take that for what you will, but I don't even see it. I mean, when you go down the board, a lot of these kids are already committed unless they plan on flipping somewhere. And then you got all the other kids that aren't committed that are trending elsewhere. I mean, you might get a Justin Scott, but I just don't see them pulling a whole bunch of 5 stars from this class unless somebody drops the big bag. And that's it. And looks like maybe their big bag man has just left the building because he's in a lot of legal trouble. So.
Dave, log out. You're having issues too, but log out real quick and log back in. We'll go over to Holly real quick. You're having.
I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me here.
Just log. Get a refresh, Dave. We'll bring you back in. But Andrew says UCF is taking Miami's spot in the state of Florida. Look, dude, UCF is no joke, man. I've talked about them time and time again. UCF has really done a great job, and UCF is really starting to move into a top contender. Oh, they got to compete on the field. It's their first year in the Big 12, so we'll really see how they do. But yeah, I mean, they're really starting to take over here. But look, I feel like we're not giving Miami a chance here. We don't have any Miami fans in the building, but look, like their fans, there probably isn't too many podcasters that talk Miami football. So, Steve, what's your thoughts on this situation here at 3-star U?
Look, I think they right now they're up against a little bit of a twofold situation. Clearly, their NIL went through a pretty significant hit. It did not get very good publicity. There was a lot of negative talk on some of the money not being there, and then obviously the big dog of the NIL is clearly going through some of his own financial issues that are not very private. So that's one part of it. The other part is I think Cristobal is dealing with what you guys mentioned earlier with Lagway and maybe the rumor that came out of Clemson, where if Cristobal has another season like he just did, there's not going to be a crystal ball or that Miami could make a move, or 2 bad years, a third one doesn't save you, or something of that nature. Let's be honest, they didn't really upgrade that roster very well. They've still got a quarterback that looked absolutely atrocious last year. Now, did they go out and get a new offensive coordinator? Sure. But what happens if Miami comes out and they start the season with 2 losses? Nobody feels like that hype train is rolling. Nobody feels like Cristobal has the train on the tracks. And when you start talking about losing your big money donor, you can't buy all your players, and you're starting to get real doubts on the field and with the coach in his longevity. It's not a recipe for success. So it's going to be very important for Miami to come out of the gate and at least take a step forward with that offense in the first 4 to 5 games. If they come out and they look awful, that could be just essentially a nail in the coffin early on for not only the recruiting efforts, but also for just, the ability to work in the portal and just continuing to try to make that roster better, because they do need an upgrade. That is probably one of the least talented Miami teams I've seen since even potentially the probation days.
Look,
Yeah,
I
I think Manny did a better job. This class that they have right now. But hey, and to even further add to that, it's not me making fun or anything like that, but you heard those rumors of TVD possibly transferring to Alabama earlier on in the year.
Yep.
And you talk about, okay, well, they're going to lose TVD, so what's going on over there? And then on top of that, I got like a DM from somebody that said, oh my God, there's a parent of a player in here saying that his kid's not getting paid. I don't know who it was. So I tried to get that Twitter space, and they were kicking people out. They kicked me out, so I didn't get to hear any of that. But I mean, I don't know. Ain't looking good, man. Ain't looking good.
And so, look, I know we're going to get a lot of flack for this, and we're obviously taking a fanatic jab here, right? But just from my experience, and last year, and we just got done talking about this in Florida football, we were behind the 8 ball last year. We were playing catch-up all year, and it burned us. Miami was able to capitalize, and they pulled some things off with their money back guy and able to get it done later on. But the newness is gone now, and you didn't show much success on the field. If you have failure, again, like you just said, Steve, on the field, come December time, you're not going to be able to sell somebody on a hope and dream because, well, you got some guys last year and you still fumbled the bag again this year. And you're behind the 8 ball. You're going into July now with half of your commits being on an average quality of 87 point whatever it is, ranked at 30, right? And the rest of look at everybody else. The only person that's behind, in my opinion, that's going to be just okay is Alabama. They're still way behind, but let's be honest. It's Alabama, okay? So I'm not even going to get into that. Yeah, but you see everybody else. Even UCF is moving the ball a lot more. Colorado seems to be behind farther than I thought it would be, but that's another story for another time. But I just feel like in Miami, the state of Florida, you can't be this far behind this far into the game. I know it's only June, but look how the world of recruiting is moving. It's evolving. Well, can you flip some guys? Absolutely. I don't think it's going to happen like it has in the past. I think these kids are getting more and more dialed in, and I think NIL is going to have a factor positively on keeping guys locked in more than it has in the past. But look, boys, a phenomenal show as always. I had some technical difficulties.
No tweets of the week.
No tweets of the week. Yeah, Dave was prepared. But we got to wrap it up. I got a lot of business that I got to handle here. But look, guys, I appreciate you guys showing up. I told everybody, literally we're having a rehearsal dinner. I was like, I cannot miss it. I told the mom of the bride, I was like, we're 2 years strong, boys. I'm not missing an episode. I missed Sunday's episode with Cody because it was hectic, and I feel awful for it. But we'll be ready to rock and roll next Sunday. But Wednesdays we've been going too long, too strong that we're not missing it. And I appreciate you guys showing out and being locked in, dropping the like button. I apologize for not having content daily like we had been. But we'll be back. I got to take a week, okay? I got to have some fun and enjoy the sun and get the locks flowing. But again, love you guys as always. Huge shout out to Allie Peak. Make sure you guys show her some love, subscribe. Yeah. And Dave, I saw you made a change on Twitter, big guy. What's up, dude? What's the new name?
So somebody told me, "Why did you change your Twitter at?" I was getting pestered or bothered. I was like, "It's been getting swamped for like 6 months, and I don't, I'm not, I haven't done that podcast in a long time, so I switched it to High Top Dave. So it's at High Top Dave.
I fucking love it, Dave. I saw that and I was like, bro, I was trying to type in "at getting swamped." I go, it's not that anymore. So I love it, man. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys go show him some love. Again, all the way from I love Wisconsin. This place is incredible. I love this damn place.
Yeah, so it's not at getting swamped. It's at High Top Dave.
Absolutely. And Harrison Sanchez says, ask Holly to say EA Sports. It's in the game. Holly, can you give, dude, come on, lock it in.
Oh my gosh, that's my heart right there. EA Sports. It's in the game.
Woo! That's how you end the show, boys and girls. Hey, make sure you drop the damn like button, subscribe, turn the effing bell on. We got some bangers coming out, even though I've been dropping the ball. But we'll be back before you know it next week, as always. Sunday, we're live at 7:35. Drop a like, show some love, guys. Love you guys. Have a happy 4th of July. If I don't see you on Sunday, stay safe, blow some fireworks off, enjoy that freedom. And until next time, I'm Shelton.
I'm Holly.
And I am the Dave Meister.
Boogity, 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 boys. We blew the effing roof off tonight. Let's get in. Let's ride.
In the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own.
Smash the like button, baby. Let's go.